Hi guys, and welcome to our Euros preview today. It's good to see everyone, and we just want to first recognize our guest here. Lyes is here. Hope you enjoy yourself today. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, guys, thank you for having me on the show. My name is Lyes. You guys can see me on Twitter, a whole lot of Lyes, whole lot of Mid on YouTube, and I'm definitely excited to get into this, guys. The Euros are upon us, and let's talk about it.
The normal guys are here, so just let them introduce themselves. George is around, as
Hey
always.
lads, how are we? We're good. I'm excited for this. The Euros should be a really good one. I think there's a lot of teams that have disappointed, that have kind of rebuilt themselves, so it could be a really good prediction.
And Z's around as well.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm just looking forward to preview the Euros. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about the other teams. I think I'm not the most knowledge on the other countries, but I'm rooting for England. So here we go.
And last but not least, Chris or CK is around.
Yo, I'm just here chilling. Gonna talk about certain countries and my dark horse for the tournament, Turkey.
Yeah. And so what we're going to do today is we're actually just going to start with going through the groups and going through the knockouts and seeing what we agree with, see what we disagree with. And we're going to be doing player of the tournament. We're going to be doing a top goal scorer, and we're going to be doing a dark horse as well. I mean, we've already heard what CK's got to say about it, but let's just go and see what's going to happen. So I've got the tournament predictor lined up here, so let's just load it up. And here it is. So it's difficult. Like this first group, I think is quite. People seem to be very tuned on with it. I don't know what other people think, but I think it's a very tough group to predict.
100%. Like when you look at every tournament, I feel like people always look at the group of death. They always look at like the top teams, but for me, there's always a group of depth, like a group where like all four teams really have a solid chance of progressing through. And I think this one is definitely it. When you look at Switzerland, Wales, Italy, Turkey, they've all had decent sustained success over the last 2 years, over the last few tournaments. And it'll be interesting to see who really comes out, because people look at Italy as the big name. Those other teams have proven over the last few years that they are not to be underestimated.
I mean, I don't know what other people think, but I think with this Italy team is very. I think it just needs a world class striker, and it's deadly, because going at the back and as a goalkeeper and their midfield is deadly.
Yeah,
It's extremely good. Locatelli, Barella, all these guys, they're very
Verratti, look, they are my dark horses of the tournament, mate. Like when you have control of the midfield, I'm a midfield guy. Everybody knows that on Twitter. When you have control of the midfield, you win games. It's really quite simple. You dominate games, and in knockout tournaments, you need the control of the game. So this is really important when you look at something like the Euros, and you look at Italy as a pedigree, by the way. In these knockout competitions between World Cup or Euros, they have built the back off a dominant midfield display and just a world-class defense. I think oddly their center backs are actually not as great as they once were, but their midfield is just supreme quality. I'd say just behind England, really, as best in the tournament, and that's kind of Southgate tax, to be honest with you, because they'll never play the midfield that's actually right.
Yeah.
But no, Italy is a serious team. And then when you move on to Wales, Turkey and Switzerland, Switzerland have been killing the preliminary games. I don't know if anybody's been watching, but they have been a serious outfit. Like I would argue Turkey maybe has the better players, but on form, Switzerland has been really quite scary. They're moving the ball well with purpose. I do classify Wales as probably the least likely to progress, but even then, you've got Wales, you've got phenomenal transition players. So, yeah, this is a really, really tough group. And, I agree with Lies. Like, I kind of viewed this as almost my group of death, because I look at the group of death as who's most likely to advance and how big is that gap.
Yeah.
Not so much the biggest teams in the same group. So, yeah, this is a really big one. And I love Italy too. So, again, if they had a striker, they could be favorites.
That's the issue.
I think even up front, though, I mean, like they don't have a Benzema, for example, or they don't have a Harry Kane, but this is an opportunity for Ciro Immobile, who has been lights out domestically, right? Last year he won the Golden Boot for Lazio. This year not as amazing, but still putting up amazing numbers for good standards of Lazio, right? And the thing with him is he's always kind of failed to flatter at the biggest stage, right? He got his move to Dortmund, didn't really work out well there. Went to Sevilla, didn't work out well there. Even in the Champions League this year, Lazio were supposed to make some noise in that competition. They made it to round of 16, and again, he kind of flattered to deceive. But this is another huge opportunity. There's a great team around him. Even up front, you have Lorenzo Insigne and Berardi on either side of him in the half spaces. So this Italy team, man, like from back to front, there is a lot of quality there, and it's extremely well coached as well. This team hasn't lost since 2018, and that's when they failed to make the World Cup. So this is 3 years now under Roberto Mancini. They have failed to lose a game. That's impressive.
I mean,
yeah, they got Chiesa too, right?
Yeah,
Like
there you
they
go.
got Chiesa, who's massive. Yeah, the only thing is I just don't see a real focal point in attack, and probably in defense. I don't see the twin tower that I would normally associate with them.
I agree.
That's probably the only thing with Italy. But yeah, like mate, their midfield, it's ridiculous. The configurations that they can do. They've got Pellegrini as well.
Yeah,
Like, I haven't even mentioned him.
Yeah.
Like this could be a very serious team in knockout competitions, particularly. So if you want to slow the game down or speed it up, they can do it at will. So and again, I think Turkey. We haven't even spoken about
I haven't
Turkey.
spoken about them. They have so many good players.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. They've got some serious flair players. I think they're going to struggle with the type of teams that they're facing. So particularly Switzerland and Italy, who are so regimented in their build-up, they're going to really struggle. So I think they're going to be maybe the most exciting team in the group to watch. But I don't know if we're going to go right into it, because I have Italy and Switzerland as my top two in that group.
I have Italy and Switzerland as my top two as well. With what's crazy is the last Euros, Wales did so well, and yet I see them coming fourth in this group, which is kind of mad. I just think it's extremely. It's such a string. I mean, if I was going to do it, if you guys disagree, please voice your opinion. But I have it going like this. I have it going like this here. I mean, I don't know if people disagree.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, mate. The only thing, look, Wales, I'm actually not surprised. Their best players are really older. So I think the perception of the Wales team is a little bit from years gone by. So you're looking at Ramsey and Bale, who are like the pillars of their team. They're not quite the same players in explosivity. I still think people underrate how potent they are, though. I will say that. I mean, Ramsey and Bale, they have shown to still even have it if they want to turn it on. It's just they no longer have the impetus. So that Wales team was really built on transitions and covering for your man and just being a nuisance, right? They would battle for every loose ball, and I just don't know if they've got that same energy, because their efficiency is not the same for sure.
The other thing is with this Wales team, I think that it just, even that 2016 team, it was very sort of superstar heavy, and with your when your superstars are aging and you haven't got that quality to bring through to become to really take over the mantle, I just don't see it. I think Turkey. I mean, some of the players, Çalhanoğlu, Soyuncu, like these are world class. Not world class. They're very good players. Like Soyuncu had a great season for Leicester. Çalhanoğlu had a great season himself.
I mean, Burak Yilmaz, league winner.
Burak Yilmaz, exactly.
Was on Tufan,
The Lille right back where going on.
Chefik or Sergic or something like that. Yeah.
His name escapes me. The Celik, I think his name. Yeah. He's been very good. So I think they do have some good players, which is why I have them third and Wales fourth.
Do third go to the next round? Or?
It basically the top four out of the 6 groups. The top 4 third place finishers go through. Like I'll show you, it's here. So the 4 best third place teams, the 4 with the most points will progress to the knockout stage.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's how it works. So I think we're good with that. We'll move on to Group B now, which is, thank God, a lot easier. I mean, I think this kind of walks itself, really. I mean, if anyone wants to go through it, they can go through. I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I think when you look at this, Belgium is definitely the big team in this group.
Yeah.
But for me, I kind of look down the tournament how this team can succeed, where their fortunes lie, and I kind of worry about them because this
Me
is a
too.
team where their best players, like this golden generation that they had of Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku, Alderweireld, I don't know, Witsel, like all these guys who made up this great Belgian team the last 5-6 years are either past their prime or rapidly approaching that point. And it's kind of worrisome for me that their one player in real great form at the moment is Romelu Lukaku. Like, it's kind of ironic because in years past, you had Hazard and De Bruyne coming off these all-time great seasons. And it was kind of Lukaku who was like coming into the tournament out of shape, out of form. And now it's the opposite. You have Lukaku in the form of his life. And you have Eden Hazard, who's had a nightmare 2 seasons of Real Madrid. And Kevin De Bruyne, who's struggled with injuries, with matching the numbers that he's got in previous years. He's playing a different role for City. And when he comes to plays for Belgium, he plays in a completely different position. He kind of plays as more of a withdrawn 8. He doesn't play in those attacking spaces that he does for City. You kind of combine that with like the rest of the players that have formed that great Belgium team, and I don't think it bodes well for this tournament. I think they will advance from this group just because you look at the teams that they're poised to play against. They're not that great, but when you look at them against France, them against even maybe England, I don't think they have the team, and Roberto Martinez is certainly not the manager that's going to make up for that.
Another thing that worries me about this Belgium team, I mean, I know it's a bit media sort of narrative based, but that Belgium team, the chemistry in that Belgium team is not going to be very good, is it?
No.
There's so many individuals in that team that I just don't see them. Like, it feels that Belgium team feels like a Euro 2006 England team. It feels like a Euro 2008 England team. It's World Cup 2006. World Cup 2006. So that sort of period where they have the stars, but they just don't have that chemistry between them that you can just say, okay, this is a team, and we know how to play our football, and we're going to win a tournament. So
it's a kind of strange actually to see Belgium have so many good players, but right now during this season, I think there's not been many Belgian players that's been on top of their form.
Exactly.
Probably bar Lukaku, or actually I can only think of Lukaku. To be fair.
They've got a serious team in Belgium. You know, you've got Carrasco, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, you've got Lukaku himself. You know, you've got Mertens, who's still probably going to chip in. They've got a serious efficiency in attack, and in terms of I think their pedigree, though, that's where it's going to let them down. So we even saw this in the last tournament, right? Tons of hype, exciting team, blew by in the group stages, and then when they got to the knockout competitions, they really struggled. I'm hoping that a transformed Romelu Lukaku, who's far more potent in front of goal, is going to maybe lead them and be the pillar that they need to really take this far into the tournament. But I actually don't see them going much farther than maybe the quarters, the semis at most, only because, again, I think their pedigree is going to let them down in terms of this competition. And also in the back, I'm not really comfortable with what they have in defense. They're really top heavy.
100.
One player I would look out for them. If you are going to do well in this tournament, you have to look at someone like Tielemans to do very well as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because he's had a great season with Leicester, and if you're gonna, I feel like he's that guy that you can really count on to drive that team forward. And if you've got players in the likes of De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, if he even makes it fit. Because you never know these days. Lukaku, you've got the guys up front to do the business, but you need someone that's going to drive you from box to box and really take the game by the scruff of the neck. And he's someone that can really do it for them. So if they're going to do well, I think it does depend a lot on your Tielemans, but we'll see.
For me, I definitely think Tielemans is a great player, and he finally has that midfield space to his own. Right, in the past, it's been Moussa Dembele, it's been Witsel, it's been Fellaini at times as well. But for me, it all comes down to Eden Hazard, and it's a shame. I mean, I know you guys as Arsenal fans probably aren't his biggest supporters due to the past few years, but just as a neutral, this guy is such a joy to watch at the top of his game, right? And you saw these past few tournaments, Euro 2016, he was lights out. The World Cup, amazing performances against Brazil, against Japan, against those teams. To see where he is at this stage of his career, coming off these 2 seasons, he isn't the same player. Not only have the injuries hurt him, his fitness has hurt him, but it even seems like the impetus in his game has kind of left him. He isn't that guy who drags teams forward anymore, or at least we haven't seen it for the last 2 seasons. And for me, like, you take a player of that quality out of this Belgium team, yeah, they have great players. Yeah, they'll get out of the group, but I'm not convinced without him.
Yeah, me neither. And it's sad. I mean, the only other, like, I just don't see them having the quality. I mean, you can't depend on his younger brother to take
No.
like, it's just not going to happen. So, like, you have to. I think it's going to be get the first in the group, and then it's probably going to be curtains for them. But we'll see. I mean, I have this team going second. I don't know about you guys. Yes, I really do.
Over Russia.
Over Russia. I actually do, because Russia do. I get the point. I get the point you're going to make. They do have a very good team going together, but Denmark does have its individuals that can really pull a team going forward.
Who are you confident in over Russia as a team?
Not as a team. As a team, Russia, in terms of individuals, I'll take that. All right, you make your point, George. Russia?
You've got Fedor Chalov, who's just an immense young striker, and then you've got Golovin, who, in combination with their absolute transition monsters in defense, they're just a solid team. They're not going to go terribly far, but I don't see any Denmark issues that are going to really outpace them on set pieces or in their defensive block, and they've got the attacking potency in Russia to make them pay. So I think with Denmark, I really don't see a superstar standout that can really change the game for them, because they're really quite poor across all thirds. I don't see really a distinct style of play, whereas I know with Russia, they're going to sit in their deep block, they're going to release Fedor Chalov to break out, and Golovin's going to have a field day in that loose midfield.
For me, it's just Chalov for me. I get what you're saying, but I just don't trust him as much as you do. I think that he's not as potent as people think rate him as, but that's just me personally. But if I'm it's tough, because you can have this here, you can have like this, or the other way around. I'm really not that fussed either way. But if it was me, I'm doing this. But I understand this as well. It's just that with Chalov,
I genuinely just don't see a reference in Denmark. Like, who is their player that's going to turn a game?
Ericsson.
In Russia, I can name you 2 players, Golovin and Chalov. They're going to do it right away. But Denmark, I don't see anybody that's changing.
I think with Denmark, it's more about balance, though. I think they have a good core of players in Ericsson and Højbjerg and Poulsen, Schmeichel in the back,
Delaney.
Who?
Delaney.
Thomas
Well.
Delaney.
There you go, Thomas Delaney at the 6. So I understand your points about Russia, and I think this Denmark team is a bit aging, right? Like this group of players has been together again. Like, I feel like a lot of these teams you can kind of say this for. It's a group of players that are kind of at their last hurdle. I don't mind the Russia over Denmark shout, but I think they're pretty evenly balanced. And I think you look at the last World Cup, they played against each other. I think it went to penalties, right? It was a very close game. And obviously it's not going to come down to one game in this group, but I think it's a lot more even than you may say.
Yeah, I mean, Ericsson hasn't had the best season, but I still think that in this Denmark team, I still think he's someone you can watch out for. In a tournament setting, I think you do all right. But I
think really where I stand on it, ultimately, Russia's going to make it a dirty game for every single opponent that they face, and I don't trust the efficiency in Denmark's team to pull them ahead. So if I see it as a fight, in a dog fight in terms of like a mid block, I actually see much more potency in the Russia team, oddly, even though they have no midfield and their defense is probably 40 years old, all of them. They're just going to sit deep. They're going to, you know what it is? It's going to be like a Benfica or Olympiacos type match from us, where you're going to see just a complete dead block, and they're going to try to release their outlets, just like Benfica used Nunez. You're going to see the same thing with Chalov, and they're going to hope that Golovin can find him. So that's the way I see it. Yeah, I'm like you guys. I don't think I'm really too fussed.
I mean, let's just settle it. So me personally, I'm saying Denmark. Liz?
I'll go Russia. I know I made the case for Denmark, but I just think it was a lot closer. I still think I'll go Russia.
And we know where George is on this. So
Russia.
Denmark.
So Z, it's on you, mate.
I have to go with Denmark. Honestly, there's no other way.
No.
So that's what we're going with, lads.
Okay.
I mean, this group writes itself, I think.
Yusuf Paulson have a good tournament, in my opinion.
Actually,
I think Paulson
will puts itself. You know what? I think Ukraine, even Austria, have really, really good players. Actually, we saw how they played.
I think it's the other two are where you can.
I think Austria will finish second.
Macedonia, yeah, for sure. But even between Netherlands, Austria, and Ukraine.
The Netherlands are lucky. I'm going to say this right now. They're so lucky to get this kind of group, and I might be sounding reactionary because of like their past results, because of how they've played under the board. But I was not a fan of this team under Coleman. Like I look at this squad, I don't see enough quality in it. I see the attack, and I'm just not convinced by an attack spearheaded by Memphis Depay. I just cannot be convinced by it.
The only saving grace, I think. Like I know it's only one guy, but if Frankie de Jong turns up,
he's a great player.
Then Frankie de Jong can really push this team on. It's sort of like the Tielemans situation with Belgium. If that, I feel like he is their X factor, can really drive that team onto doing well in this tournament. But I completely agree that this team is very lacking. Like and it's a shame because in terms of like, for me, what football means to me, the Netherlands is. It means it's such 100%. It's part of football heritage. To see them looking like this, it's sad. But they do win this group for me. I don't know if anyone disagrees.
Yeah, I think
players
because you look at Austria and Ukraine, like they're not playing against Portugal, France, and Germany. I don't rate Austria, for example. Like I think the last few tournaments have kind of shown you that they have some big names in that team, but they just do not gel well together. And Shevchenko has done a decent enough job at Ukraine, but I think Netherlands still have enough to win this group. But coming out of this, I think they lose to the first decent team they played.
I personally would have it like this. I don't know if people disagree.
I might switch Ukraine and Austria.
I'm switching Ukraine and Austria 100%.
Okay.
But
it's one of those. I don't really mind either way.
I'm going to use the same argument that I used for Russia. Austria, nice little team. Ukraine, just more potency in transition. And when I look at knockout competitions like this, and when it's tight between two teams, I look at who has the more goal output between the two, and it's definitely Ukraine. But Austria is just like a nice team. I don't think they have anything special about them.
No, I agree.
But yeah, the Netherlands. I don't know. I just want to touch on it because it's actually kind of mad when you look at it because they have amazing youngsters, but nobody prime age to really lead that team. And so I think they're in transition. If the next Euros, I think Netherlands will come back and they're actually going to be quite a good team. They've got a lot of exciting youngsters, but just no one that's really ready to take the mantle.
I mean, I don't know if anyone
leader's injured.
I don't know if anyone saw the youth. Euros. They just lost to Germany.
They have some good players there, though.
Good players in that team.
Stangs, Botman,
Botman is what I was going to say is my name one. I really like the look of him. I think he's a top centre back to come into.
Calvin Stangs. Let me just say, Myron Boadu. I don't know how to pronounce that, but and him and Stangs are going to be an immense partnership. Like, wait a couple of years, and they're some serious players. But yeah, I think it's the same thing where, Depay, Wijnaldum, they're aging, they're at the tail end of their careers. I don't see enough presence in that team to really go far.
I mean, look at their attack. You have like Weghorst from Wolfsburg, you have Depay, you have Bergwijn, you have what's his name? The guy who was playing in Russia for I think Spartak. What's his name? He alternates between Spartak and Ajax.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Promet. There you go. These names are just not winning you tournaments. They're not beating the big teams. There's not enough goals in this team for me. And I agree 100%. Frankie de Jong, especially for the Netherlands, where he's given a different role to the one he is at Barca, looks amazing every time. But I'm just not buying into the team, to be honest.
I think they need a new coach.
No doubt. They have the worst Premier League coach of all time.
Anyway, let's move on to the big boys now. I think let's be real. This is the half where the winner's coming from, for me anyway. So let's get on with it. So So Group D,
England
this
first.
is we're all gonna say England first. It's not
Yeah,
really
I think
gonna be
so.
about.
Plop them on there.
So
Scotland.
Scotland are here for me. I don't see them coming second.
No.
I think I might have them
No,
third.
no.
You know,
Really?
I have them second.
No, not
second.
Yeah, you're on your own there, mate. I'm
Mm.
not. No way.
Over Croatia.
I think
Chris.
people are really
Yes.
underrating this.
Yeah.
I think people are underrating this Czech team as well. They have some really good players in this Czech team. I wouldn't put them there. I would put them here. But I really do think this Czech team has some very, very decent.
Who did the Czech Republic have?
Souček, Kufal,
Yeah.
Sima. They have Hradecki in goal. They have some good. They have some good players. So I have them here. Maybe
Do
it's
the right
biased.
thing, Curran. Do the right thing and put Croatia second. And
Yeah,
then
I
we
agree
can
with
debate
that.
it. But please do the right thing.
Yeah.
Look,
I mean, this is
listen.
what I originally went with. Anyway.
Okay, Croatia, they have a serious midfield, guys, and they have some serious outlets as well. That they are a dangerous team, especially they proved it, in previous. So Croatia, I think they're going to give England the best run for their money, particularly with the control of the midfield ultimately. And I think with England, the only thing I'll say is they are my pick of the tournament. And if Southgate doesn't win it, which is very likely because he's horrible, it's a travesty, really. England is absolutely the clear team in terms of talent in the tournament for me. Even in France, I will make that claim. Like when you look at it across the board, because the France team, they didn't bring their U21 midfield. Like a lot of this stuff, if you actually look at their midfield, it's horrendous. I don't understand the picks. So England has a talent pool that's just absolutely insane. Their front line alone can really win them games. So England better win it. That's all I have to say.
I agree.
I mean, I think England, if they didn't have Southgate, wins it. I just don't think they win it with him because he's going to persist with his 3-4-3. He's just not going to switch from it. He loves it. So
mate, the quality is just too much alone. Like I don't. Even if you have such an inhibiting coach, I just don't understand how that quality and individual quality. Just look at the front line. Like you could pick 4 different front lines and have it compete in the tournament.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'm not disagreeing with you here. The squad itself, the 25 they take is just amazing. But the issue is they going to be are they going to be set up and put in the position to succeed? And that's where you lose me.
I think it won't matter in this group though. Honestly, on Croatia, to be honest with you, I don't think they're as good. I mean, obviously, they're not as good as they were a few years ago in tournaments past. The likes of Rakitic has kind of moved on. He's retired from international football. And I think you look at their big players again, like they're not the same players they were 2 years ago. Luka Modric for me is the prime example. He isn't the same guy who won the Ballon d'Or 3 years ago. And they will come out of this group, make no mistake about it. Czech Republic, I personally don't know enough about them. And Scotland, while they have some recognizable names, I think Croatia is still the second clear team. But England, for me, should win all 3 of these games.
I mean, I'll admit my bias here because I used to live in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
But for me, if you look at the teams, I think Scotland is as good as they have a couple of players. They have Tierney, they have Robbo, they have
McTominay, Adams.
No, you could have stopped that Robertson. You didn't have to say McTominay.
Che Adams.
Yeah, I mean they have a couple of good players, but I think that if you look at that Czech team, I think it's just better on paper and it's better on the field as well. That's just me. I don't know if other people see it a different way, but for me, it doesn't just go into the third. I think it's one of the 4 that gets out of the 4 out of the 6 teams to get to the knockouts. But we'll see. We'll do our prediction for that when we get.
I'd put Scotland third.
Yeah,
I think so too. I have no idea about Czech Republic, but I like the Scotland team. They got something about them.
I mean.
No, I'm not comfortable with it. The reason is because, look, Scotland, what they've got is they've got a lot of really good runners, but I don't think they've got the efficiency in midfield. That's where really the difference lies for me between the 2 teams. And I trust Czech Republic to control games a lot more than Scotland. Scotland will look to make it dirty, but I don't think they have the output focal point to make them pay. And oddly, I think you've got your Tierney and Robertson dynamic on the left. That's going to certainly be their best play, but I don't know who's finishing their chances. I think it's actually been kind of a critique really of their play in the qualifiers.
Che Adams.
Sorry?
Che Adams will score goals.
Okay, Chris. So I think look, Che Adams is an okay player, but no, he's not doing the output that you need. And I think if you actually look at their qualifiers, like that was the problem, right? They had a lot of 0-0s, a lot of 0-0s. They just struggled with output across the board. So yeah, I'm happy with this order.
I really, the one thing I would like, one of the players I really think that we need to look out for is Andre Sima from Czech Republic.
Yeah.
If the Arsenal fans who saw the Sparta game can know he is quality, and it could be one of those seasons where he really ups his value. One of those tournaments where he really ups his value. So that's just what I'm going to add on to that. But let's just move on to the next group here. I think it's what do we think? Anyone want to take this?
Oh, this one, Spain. I think
first.
They're so rubbish, though.
I don't know. I think they're kind of like a weird team, man. First of all, I actually really like Luis Enrique, so I hope
I do like Luis Enrique.
Yeah, I do hope he does well. But I hear you, man. Like there's certain positions in this team. First of all, the fact that this team probably has the least amount of players from Barca and Real. I mean, no players from Real Madrid, but only a few from Barcelona themselves, probably speaks volumes about how poor not just the team, but Spanish football as a whole is at this point. When you look at the team, I think the lack of like experience as well. There aren't like those big guys like the Ramos, Iniesta, Xavi. You don't have those leaders in that team. And I also worry where the goals come from because I'm never trusting a team that starts with Alvaro Morata up front. He can only take you so far.
I do like Ferran Torres, but I just don't know how far he's going to be able to take him. So
they have some interesting profiles up front. Like you have Adama, who is like completely different to any player Spain has probably ever had, right?
I think any player that's ever been produced ever.
You got Dani Olmo. You have, like you said, Ferran Torres. I also look at midfield, and I don't think there's enough players who can really grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Like you have Thiago, brilliant player. You have Busquets, maybe not as brilliant a player as he was. But you're kind of missing that guy who can just get on the ball and make things happen. Spain have had Isco, they've had Iniesta, they've had those kinds of players for the last decade. This team, I wonder where that creativity comes from.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so Spain is a tough one because you know what? I think they've got some decent center backs and build up, so they're going to be nice to watch. But they lack incisive edge. I don't think they've got third man runs within their midfield, and you're going to have a lot of the same profiles. Whenever you have that in a team, they end up struggling. I actually think that, Alvaro Morata is actually a knockout competition type striker. You don't need consistency across a season, but if he can get hot, he can really turn things around. Sorry?
He's done it for Juventus before. Yeah,
exactly. So he can put a run together. But I think Spain is definitely the clear one in the group. I think that they'll end up doing okay. They just, like you said, Lyes, like they don't have really a natural potency within the team. I'm really interested how they use Traore. I really hope that they don't let past prejudice go on it because they have an outlet there. They really have something that they can use to really stretch teams because they don't have that in their team at all, right? So when you have like your Pau Torres and you look at even Laporte, you're looking at your left center back that can really switch play to that right outlet. That could be a serious dynamic that I don't know a lot of people are thinking of. But if they don't play him, then that's useless. Like this analysis is useless. So, I think Spain is an interesting one. They're actually oddly, I think, very unlike the past, which a lot of these teams are. I don't know if you can like look across the tournament, but uncharacteristic for their history. But yeah. I think actually the second place is a lot closer than people think. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I do too as well. It's between two for me, but I want to see what people say first.
I actually think there's going to be an upset in this one. Honestly, I don't know. When I look at Spain, I've actually watched them play a few times. for me, I struggle to see. Even I think even George said that they lack incisiveness, and sometimes I struggle to see how they're going to get the goals. So and when you have countries like Poland who have Lewandowski, is Ibrahimovic going to the Euros?
No, he's not going.
No.
Okay, so
They have Isaac though.
Isak,
yeah.
Forsberg.
For me,
Yeah.
it's just that I can just see Spain just having a lot of nil-nils for some reason. So I personally think I don't even think that they can make second. I think it's probably a shout, but I generally don't think that they'll top the group. Honestly,
Wow.
I don't see.
So you
where
think
they
Spain will
go.
finish third?
I can see them finish second. I can see them finish second.
I mean, personally, I have it like this.
Yeah, no, I think to the obvious, we're obviously going to go with Spain. But I just have a feeling that they're going to be the ones that are probably the worst out of the top nations, just because they lack certain players. For example, even in the striking positions, they're going to rely on Morata, who we know is hot and cold. He can be a tournament player, but again, can we rely on him to score the goals? So.
Here's an interesting question. Who would you rather be right now? Would you rather be Spain or would you rather be the Netherlands?
Spain,
easily.
Spain, especially for how young that team is. Like they're only going to get better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I mean,
I think
the reason I mentioned Netherlands as well because going forward they do have a good crop of young talent coming through as well. That's the only reason that I made that comparison.
You know what? In 4 years, that's going to be a question that's going to be really interesting because Netherlands will have the potency that Spain won't have, but Spain will go back to their roots because their youngsters are very similar to their past roots. So your Brahim Diaz's, all of these young technical players are very small space players. So in 4 years, you're actually going to see a return to the giants of old, where I really think, even with with the Netherlands and specifically Spain, you're going to have their historical past at the present. So you're going to see Netherlands with really great transitions, decent efficiency, and Spain's going to be the small, tight, kind of small space players. Yeah, I don't know. In 4 years, that's an interesting matchup. But yeah, I think Spain are more far along in their process.
I mean, where are we going with this group though? For now,
I'm happy with that group. I had Sweden second.
Oh, you're looking at the E. Okay.
Are we good with this?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the real group.
Group of death.
Before we move on, can we just all assume this?
Yeah.
Before we.
Simple Lyes is not good enough for.
Lads, I'm going to be really controversial here, and then let's see. But I don't really see this as a group of death. I see it really simple: France, Portugal, Germany, Hungary. Very simple. Really no debate. Yeah. But I'll let others go.
That's the way I have it.
France, Portugal, Germany.
I have one question for you guys, though. Do you see it potentially as the third place team in this group doesn't rack up enough points to finish as one of the 4 best?
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
I do.
That's my question.
That's a really good point.
No, because they'll get points from being Hungary.
Right, but that's 3 points.
But then,
could there be a case where Germany loses to both France and Portugal and finishes on 3 points?
Oh God! Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that enough to make them one of the 4 best third place teams?
I mean, technically, it depends. I think a lot of these this third place thing is probably going to go down to goal difference. I think. So
probably.
Did you see the other 3? The other top 3.
Oh, they're all here. So.
I think Germany. Yeah, I think when you look between the two, there's a bigger gap of Germany and Hungary than there is for these other third place teams in the 4th position. So if we go up a little bit, Currents, so if you look between Poland and Slovakia, I actually think that they're going to be a lot more closely matched in their fixtures. Same with, I think, Czech Republic and Scotland might be the only question, to be honest with you, but everybody else is a lot closer.
I mean, for me, I mean, we can all agree with this. I think Turkey will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Turkey's group. I mean, it's a tight group. I do think that they're the better team. I think they will they will get that spot.
Just to make it clear, I don't believe Germany will lose 2 out of 3 games, but I just think there is a good chance that happens. And if that's the case, I don't know if that 3 points is enough.
Yeah, go back up, Curran, because you know what? I don't know. Here,
Scotland will finish third, man.
No, Chris, no, they weren't. They really weren't. They really weren't.
Go back up, Curran, because I think you know where I'm looking, lads. I'm looking at Russia, that group.
Yeah, Russia. I think these two are going to go through because Macedonia is going to be on it. I think these two go through. I think all of these.
Only because of the other teams in their group aren't that great. Like the Austria-Ukraine is very tight, but North Macedonia is really crap, and the Netherlands aren't what they used to be. I think the other groups, they have a very clear, dominant player that's going to top the group, right? Belgium, Italy, England, those groups are very clear, so those games aren't very tight. Then when you look to the second place teams, oddly, Austria could really sneak it just by presence of what you said, Lyes, in terms of
give it to Germany.
No, I don't think Germany could make it because even if you look at the head-to-head,
they're going to beat Hungary.
You see what I'm saying though, right? Like 3 points genuinely might not be enough.
Yeah,
no,
it's going to be.
Other teams might just get draws though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What if they get a draw and a win and they finish third? That's 4 points already.
For me, these three are pretty clear. I think we can all agree on these three going through.
Yeah, I think so too. Just to make it clear, I don't think Germany will finish on 3 points. I think they'll get a little more than that, but it's possible.
I'm actually not sure. I'll be honest. I'll make the claim. I don't buy that Germany make much more than 3 points, to be honest with you, especially when you look at their kind of international team performance. I think they're youngsters. They're like the Netherlands. They're 4 years away from really being able to challenge right now. And Germany is not the team that it was, and they really struggled in many of their qualifiers, to the point of switching coaches, right? So I don't know with Germany. I really don't see them as what I think they're perceived to be.
I really think this is probably either going to be a 7-4-4-1 group or a 6-4-4 or a 6-4-4-1 group. So France will get 2. So France will end up with 7, 2 wins and a draw.
I agree.
And then 1 win and a draw, and 1 point maybe.
No, you're missing games when you're saying them points.
2 wins and a draw.
Yeah, I think France will finish on 7 because I think they'll draw to Portugal.
Yeah, sorry, 7 points. Sorry, 7.
Yeah.
And then Portugal will finish probably
minimum 4, right? Because if you think they'll draw with France, then it'll really come down to the Germany game. That really might be what it comes down to: Germany versus Portugal.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I think everyone will get their 3 points off Hungary. I think France and Portugal will end up drawing, to be honest with you.
You know what's mad, though, guys? You know what's mad? Like, deep Germany's team right now, and I just don't understand the struggles, right? You've got Gnabry,
inconsistent,
Sané, Goretzka.
But here's the thing,
Havertz.
You have a lot of these players coming off pretty poor individual seasons. Gnabry and Sané are really coming off, like, pretty lackluster seasons individually.
And that's the thing, though. So, like, I look at them, and it doesn't make sense to me. Like, they're kind of the imposter of it. And I don't know, because they really should be beating Portugal. But Portugal, in terms of their young talent and their form, have been immense. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I think that's going to be probably our shock of the group predictions, right? Like, if you look at talent, Germany should be second, right? If you go on paper, and we're looking at it on paper, they really should be quite clear second. But
I think
their
the way
form just has not been the case.
I think the way I personally, I see it either between Czech Republic or Germany. I think this group is going to be pretty. I don't know. I don't know something about this group.
No, I think Poland amassed more points in that group than Germany would in their group.
You think?
It could.
Not of players, right? Just the group is easier.
The points, points, because that's what matters.
That's exactly. That's the thing. It's not like these teams like all go into like a pool at the end. They play off against each other. It's all about what.
No, the other thing is I really think that the drop like England obviously are clear in this group, but like Croatia aren't that good, and these two teams aren't that good. So that's the only reason why I say maybe the Republic can sneak in and get that third spot, because after England, the drop off in that group is pretty big.
It's a drop off, but they're all of similar quality. That's the trouble, right? So, and I think, I don't know. I think if I was to predict the fourth best team there, I'd actually go Poland, just because their group is a lot easier.
I'd be okay with Poland. They do have good players. They have Lewandowski still, and he's still world class. So I would be happy with Poland.
Zelensky too. What's that guy from Napoli?
Yeah,
Zelensky.
Yep. So he's amazing.
I see Scotland getting 4 points.
Wow.
Watch.
Chris, what are you on?
They're gonna beat Czech Republic and draw with Croatia.
Yeah, well, you're on your own. Okay. You're on your own.
Watch.
They're just not. Okay.
But yeah, no, I'm choosing Poland, current mate.
I don't think I'm choosing Austria, though. I think I'll go Turkey, Russia, Poland, and Germany. I think that's what the 4 I'll go for. But honestly, it's just because, like, for me, I have in my mind this great Germany team.
Yeah, so
I'm not. It's not another own possibility.
The only reason I'm saying the reason why I say Austria is because of this.
Yeah, they will get their 3 points. You're right. Yep.
They will get their 3 points. So, and they probably will put a few past them as well. So I this is what I'm going with. I don't know if it's a bit controversial leaving Germany, but I think we're unless anyone has some last minute objections.
I'm good, mate.
Yeah, I think you can go with it.
No, we're gonna move on. Let's go to the knockouts then.
All right.
So you said
now this is gonna be. This is going to be interesting to see how it goes because I personally don't know how the groups are aligned. Like to see, like, okay, so this is the first time I see who plays who. Because in my mind, I have like a flop of the tournament in terms of like, oh, they're not going to meet expectations, and that's Portugal. But I'm also interested to see who they play next. They might have an easy run where like it doesn't even matter what I think. So this is it, huh?
I'm going to start pretty controversial, but I think Turkey wins that. I just don't think.
No way.
I think Belgium will beat them.
I really do.
There's a matchup. Belgium is.
I just think Turkey are better as a team than Belgium. I mean, Belgium have the better individuals and they have the better players. I just think that Turkey probably will just outwork them. Maybe I'm on my own on that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think this is the game where Belgium lose.
This isn't too many flop to choose
to win. I mean, I think Belgium will go through and then lose to Italy.
If I'm on my own, I'm on my own. But all right. I mean, we'll agree.
Yeah, I think we all keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, you can keep going there, and France will beat Austria as well. That's
100%. Yeah, that'll be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Croatia,
Croatia. I think that's a bloodbath personally, as well.
Yeah.
I might go Sweden for that, man. I like Sweden.
Oh, England! I told you England have a hard time.
Spain will beat Russia, I think. Oh, that's a rematch of the 2018 round of 16.
Well, we can put Spain, right? I think Spain will beat Russia.
Yeah, I think so.
England,
Portugal. Wow.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that was
okay. I got England, man.
England will play the second of that group, the second team in that group. I think.
Yeah, England will
Portugal.
I mean,
wow.
So.
You know what? The only thing I'll say with this is I think your predictions about Portugal not or flopping rather, and not even though being an exciting team is like lived up in this scenario exactly, right?
That'd be amazing. One of these two teams is going to be like one of these guys is the flop of the tournament if they lose in their round of 16.
Serious.
If England does not progress past the group stages of the quarters, or even I'd say the quarters period, it's a failure of a tournament massively. It's probably the biggest failure of the tournament.
So you think if they lose to Portugal, it's a failure?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I can't like round of 16, man. You got it. I mean, it's unlucky that they have to play these great teams so early, but you're right. I can't argue with that.
It's just the player quality, mate. Like I legit put England and France as the top two, and then there's a massive gap, and then there's the rest. Like so, even with Portugal, like they've got such a great young, exciting young team, but the quality difference in England is just unmatched. But
if England don't go to the semis, you should sack Southgate.
I agree.
Another one's Poland.
That's an interesting game.
Yeah.
That's an upset, lads. I'm going
Yeah.
Poland.
That's a game too where if Lewandowski doesn't show up, Twitter is going to be on fire. 100%.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's my upset game.
Switzerland.
Switzerland. I think Switzerland.
Xhaka's gonna have a madness.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Switzerland,
so-
Poland. One of those goes to the semifinal. Mad.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay. This is a tough one. The first one.
I go
Italy.
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 I go Italy as well.
That midfield balance is too much.
But we have seen Lukaku against Serie A defenders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But
So you know what it is
I
though?
think-
That midfield is a serious block. So I don't know if he's going to get the space that he's going to get, which he gets in the in Serie A.
True. I
Probably
go
would.
France against Croatia.
Yeah, France.
That's pretty easy for me.
England have an easy run if it goes like this.
Very easy.
Run.
But England can be England, right? And they can always-
Yeah.
Are we good? Are we good with this? Are we good with this?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
this is the game where England just kind of capitulate against Spain.
Lads, I'm going to be controversial. Poland, there's always one team in the tournament that goes far and a lot farther than you think. That's the case with every
That's
single
Switzerland.
Euros.
Yeah.
I see that with Poland. Even though
agree.
Switzerland is the better team, I think they win that matchup and they are actually.
No, I
Here's a
think
question for you: if Poland goes to the semifinals of the Euros, should Lewandowski win Ballon d'Or?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
That's
Probably.
a run, an international run in a tournament that everyone watches, plus a record-breaking season in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, I don't know, lads. I'll go Poland in that last one. But
I'd
it
go
could be
Switzerland. Please,
I
Jack.
think we're going to go Switzerland, but
Okay.
George's point is well heard. I think we'll put it that
Yeah,
way.
for sure.
It could happen. You
and
never
then-
know. You never know.
And then
And then England, yeah. Can you imagine they lose to Switzerland? They'll hang Southgate in public.
Okay, this one deserves a debate, guys.
France,
does.
Italy. Ooh.
This one
France
deserves
have
a
quality
serious.
that should be close to win.
I think
France have quality that
France-
should be win, but the midfield, you never know.
I'm going Italy.
Wow.
I'm going.
You have
France.
England winning the whole thing, George.
I don't have them winning, but the reason I'll say why. So they brought a horrible midfield, France, and what they did by bringing back Benzema, I'm really not sure how that dynamic's going to work in the team. In theory, a Benzema Mbappe partnership is amazing, but what he does to instability in terms of the whole balance of the team, I'm not sure because
I don't know about that. I think George. I think you're looking at a guy whose link-up play is maybe not at the level of Olivier Giroud's, but pretty damn good as well.
It's
Plus,
dirty.
you have a guy now who's at least going to register one shot on target at the Euros.
you know what? It's
I would
not
agree with
the play for me. It's all the afters in terms of what he represents coming back. He is a much better player balancer in terms of the team. I'm worried what it does to the camp and what that pressure does.
They seem to love him though, man.
Sorry?
They seem to love him from all the videos I'm seeing. I don't see any unrest in that camp.
No.
I
really-
don't know. I have this thing that Italy are my
Their
dark horse.
Their system is weird as well with them playing like a 4-3-1-2 with Griezmann at the 10. So
Yeah. It's
honestly,
strange.
Italy could win because their midfield balance is just so good.
Look, I'm sorry, but when you have Mbappe running at that Italian defense,
Yeah, I think it's a wrap,
literally-
man.
It's a wrap.
They
And I
don't
think
have to
I hear like the fact the midfield depth for France isn't good. Like you can argue a Camavinga or a Kakare or an Aouar should have gone, but Pogba and Kante, it's proven.
I think
It's
they go
international
to
proven.
penalties. I think they go to penalties.
Oh, France, Italy on penalties. We've seen that before.
We've seen
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I can't. I'm sorry. I'm gonna overrule this one. I really cannot see France losing this one.
Yeah, I think France.
I think they go to pens, and then France are bad at pens somehow. They're so
France,
bad.
Italy penalties. Benzema red card for headbutting.
They haven't
Verratti.
scored a pen yet. Only Giroud has scored a pen after like last
Look, you
5,
know what?
6 penalties.
Like I'm saying, I think I'm building a case because they're my dark horse pick of the thing. But yeah, I think the quality wise, you can't really argue. It's just it's a lot close. It's probably the best game of the tournament if you're looking at all the
Apart from
matchups.
the final.
I
Yeah.
go France. I go France. I think you might be
I
out.
go France as well.
You have to go France.
Look, when it comes to this final, right, which is I think everyone's final,
I think it's
anyone.
idealistic for sure.
In Wembley.
Imagine.
England's at home. If they lose, bruv.
I know everyone's gonna say England. I know everyone's gonna say.
No, you have to, Curran. There's no. Okay, let's not play around here. I'm gonna be very. No. Like, let's not play around on quality. Let's forget the stupidity of Gareth Southgate for an instance.
But
Just
you
run
can't.
through the English.
You
Run through the English team. Run through the English
England have a better team.
Home advantage.
George,
Wembley.
if you were running it, then maybe. But we have Southgate running it. Okay, he is the manager. Okay.
Look,
Yeah, George, I can't
I'll
lie.
go
I think
for
you're
the
being
squad.
very idealistic with this England team, man. I think first of all, we don't even know what their best 11, or maybe some people have an idea of it,
Yeah,
but I don't
I
even
know.
think we all have an
4-3-3.
idea of what their starting 11 is first game of the tournament.
Yeah, agreed.
He better not go three at the back. If he does,
He is going to go three at the
I
back.
think,
That's
bro, he
the
took
issue.
10 defenders. He's definitely going three at the
He's going
back.
three at the back.
I
Damn.
can't, lads. I can't. I honest to God, I can't do it because the
England
quality.
they shouldn't lose. You just shouldn't.
I'm going England. You have to. Like, if you look between the two teams, I think France have a more settled system, but the individual quality difference between the two, like, the France have a good midfield, but honestly, England in midfield, I'm taking the midfield that England have than France do. I'm also
Well, are you
taking
taking
the
England
attack.
the midfield England's going to put out because it's going to be Henderson, Rice, Mount? Are you taking that over
That's
Pogba,
better than-
Conte,
That's
and
better
those
than
guys?
France's midfield.
You're telling me that one's better than Pogba, Conte, and whoever plays on the left?
I'm not on
Pogba,
that
Kante,
boat.
Tolisso. Pogba, Kante,
It's going to be
Tolisso
Rabiot, I think. I think it's going to be Rabiot instead of Tolisso. I think Rabiot will play the Matuidi role.
is worse than England's best midfield.
No, but you said best. I'm saying the midfield they will play. Forget about
Yeah.
that.
This is, like
You
you
never
guys,
know.
you guys are working on paper. We have to talk
We
about
have
it.
to.
Yeah.
We're all working on paper.
Yeah, true.
No, but the point, no. What I mean is you're thinking in idealistic terms. You're thinking we're going to be playing 4-2-3-1 and we're going to demolish these teams.
Yeah.
We're not going to be playing 4-2-3-1. It's just not going to happen.
You better,
We're gonna be playing-
The reality
I
is you're
would
going to
play-
have out of
I would
Rashford,
play,
out of
I
Sterling.
think- Look,
We're
I
gonna
would
be playing
play a 4-3-3. I'm just going to go what I would do because this is kind of, I guess, the idea of it. I would go 4-3-3 with England, okay? I'm having Foden, Mount, and Rice in midfield in that aspect, and then you have your front line of, like, your Kane, your Grealish, and your Sancho. Like that, it's stupid.
He's not going to play Grealish though.
That's what I'm saying.
My
Sancho will
front line
not see
is-
the field, man.
Kane, Saka, and Sancho. That's my front line.
That's it,
Yeah,
Saka.
but it's not
Yes, I
your
did.
front line. It's Southgate's front
Chris.
line.
No,
Chris.
we don't know what it's gonna be.
Chris, over Sancho. Look, I love Saka. You know that. I'm probably his biggest
I mean
defender.
Sancho on the left. I put Sancho on the left.
I understand
It's
with your
gonna be
balance, but
Sancho
he's not
playing
benching. He's not benching Grealish after the season.
He is.
He is.
He would.
Yeah, he probably will, man.
No.
Grealish. He's going to put Sterling on. Watch. He's going to put
He
Sterling
got
on.
the number 7.
Sterling and
too.
Rashford coming off like
No,
terrible ends of
Saka
the
got the
season.
7, George.
No, I thought it was Grealish.
No, Saka's not wearing 7. Saka's like 27 or
was
something
wearing
like that.
No, he just had that because he was playing.
Yeah,
maybe,
no.
but I
Grealish
think
is
Grealish
number
is a 7.
Bro,
He might be coming.
Lingard.
Yeah, I think it might come because of Trent. He's in, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to be the one that takes Trent's position.
Yeah.
Or
The other-
Trent
the
will.
Because we got. Let's just sit, like this is how I think like he will set up. Like not how we think he'll set up. How it will actually be in this team.
Mm,
It'll be Pickford. It'll be Stones, Walker, and it will be Maguire.
mhm.
It will be probably Trippier because he loves Trippier, and it will be Shaw,
Mm.
and it will probably be Rice and Mount, and then it will be.
I think it might be Henderson. I think it'd probably be Henderson.
Right,
Or
Henderson.
the better thing is Henderson. He's had a very tough season as well, so I don't know if he'll start every
True.
game.
Okay.
So, I mean, Henderson or Rice, I'll concede that because I don't know which one first. But it will be Sterling, it will be Kane, and it will be Sancho. And it's that. I know
Sterling
you're
better
gonna say.
not start.
I know.
Sterling better not.
You keep
I
saying
don't
better
even
not,
think it'll
but
be
he
Sancho.
will,
I think he'll probably play Rashford, to be honest with you.
and he even might play Rashford.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even think
what I'm saying is Sterling, neither Sterling or Rashford should start the final.
I agree.
If that-
Will they start? Will they start?
Yeah, I agree they shouldn't, but I like talking about Sancho. I don't think Sancho will see much action at the
Me
Euros.
neither.
Yeah.
Me neither.
If he
So-
does that,
It's not that it's right, but I just don't think Southgate sees him like that.
exactly.
Okay, so
So
let's
they
go.
don't
Let's
get
go
anyone.
through. Let's go through because I think I'm clearly England. I'm just gonna put that out there. I
Yeah.
think England win it all.
I'm English, and I think France will win this game.
I don't think that matters. It's individual quality. I think honestly, on the day, I'm going across the team and I'm looking. Even if you pick the wrong formation, the wrong setup, there's too much individual quality there in terms of who's probably the player of the tournament. If you look at like reference points, because look, when you look at knockout football, lads, and you look at total teams, they're very equal in terms of their strengths, right? If we were to look at France and England, both of their strengths lie in midfield and attack, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at the game and what the game state is probably going to be, it's going to be a very cagey battle. And so you're looking who in those attack or midfield is going to stand out. It's going to be one between those departments. And I think there's much more potency at the extreme with England than there is with France. And I think they really do it this time. I really do.
I think France, you have too much. Haven't you seen this? Yeah, true. I think with France, man, also there's too much in game. Like these guys have played in the biggest games together, time after time after time. They've been together for what 6 years now. The same crop of players. And I think when you're talking about who's going to be the star of this tournament,
cycle's done.
That's a shout. Maybe it might be done. But I look at Kylian Mbappe, man. I think Kylian Mbappe is going to light up this game.
No.
Kylian Mbappe, that you have.
I think Grealish. This is Grealish's tournament.
I hope
think
so,
so,
man.
He's not starting.
Bro, he has to start either Grealish or
You keep
Sanchez.
saying he has, but he will not
has
start
to.
either of them. He won't.
you
He'll
listen to
start
me.
Sterling and Rashford. He'll start Sterling and Rashford.
He bet.
Or he'll-
No, he can't. He
I just
can't.
think France are that team, man, that can just bore
No,
you.
that-
with quality.
he's the
France are just going to
manager.
bore teams with quality, man. Like they don't even play that well, but they're just so good at winning games.
That's my thing. If you look, if you guys remember, they played Portugal, right?
Yeah.
And do you guys remember that game?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and what happened? So that game, their midfielders never joined the attack, and it was a horrible time. And so I really think Deschamps has really messed up with his selection. I really think his selection in the midfield is going to lose him the tournament because bringing back Benzema, man, that shouts for any kind of Camavinga, Awar, Cacaret. Like, you know, I think the U21 France midfield is better than what he's brought.
It would win them the tournament.
I really do.
Man. I don't think any of them would have played, and also like I think you saw them for the under 21s. They didn't look too great down there. But for me, I just think it's just, for me, I'm just going experience. I think this team, I in World Cup 2022, I don't think France will win the tournament. I think there you'll see a decline. But I think this is another tournament for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think where I stand on it is ultimately, I think he made a mistake, Deschamps, in not facilitating that transition early.
Maybe.
And I think we see the decline in that cycle with this tournament. And I could be wrong, but really, I ultimately put it down to who's the best players in France, and let's stack it up to some of the best players in England, and on their day, who has the output to consistently do it. And Mbappe, excellent shout, but I feel like we have more game changers in England.
And Mbappe.
I'm not even English, but I think the England team have much more game changers than
hey,
France.
man, if you're talking about on your day players, I think France have the best on their day player in the world in Pogba. On his day, he's this. On a different day, he's something else. But I just think you talk about game changers: Mbappe, Griezmann, Benzema, Pogba. These are like
Griezmann is known. Griezmann shouldn't be mentioned when they're saying the best players of between the two teams. I don't think
in international tournaments, man, for France, he always shows up. And like this is something I looked at when the Euros was supposed to be playing.
That's true.
Last summer, I was actually very low on France because I was looking at Pogba, Varane, Griezmann, Mbappe himself. Like they weren't coming off great individual seasons, and I was thinking, how are they going to mesh together for a tournament? But every single time these guys come together for France, it seems like everything goes out the window. These guys all remember who they are, what they do, and they always turn it up for international football.
And the other thing we have to mention is the experience in a final.
Yeah.
Like England as a team, Southgate in a final. Do you really know what he's gonna do if they do?
I'm not counting on Southgate. I'm going to make this point again. I'm not counting on Southgate. I'm counting on the individual players. And the only thing I'll say, every big team has a cycle, and we saw it with Spain. And even when they lost, by the way, with Spain, they were the pick of the tournament. So I really see a very similar story here where, Germany, they were also the pick of the tournament when they stopped their cycle. I see something very similar with this, and I think it's going to be England. When I look at it, Grealish, Sancho, Kane, even Mount, even Foden, like, God, these guys are just game changers across the 11. But look, I hear the shouts because it's not like it's far. You can't look at this debate and say it's a close game. You know what I mean? Like, you sim this game 10 times. Everybody may win 4 times equally.
I mean, we're 2-2 because I think me and Lyes are on France here. I think Chris, CK, and George are on England here. I think it's up to you again. Where you thinking?
Man, I have to go with my home country, England, and I think I'm just listening to George, and I'm feeling like he's going to set me up for massive disappointment because I've seen for so many years, and we've had very good players in the past as well, and I thought maybe we'd reach the semis, and we've not even beaten Algeria in the group stages. So yeah, I'm just nervous. I hope we make the final, and I hope we win it. So I'm going to pick England.
You know what? I'm just going to make a point on the past because I think this is important. What England have done with St. George's Park and what they've done in facilitating a much closer camp to all their English setups, I think is really important. So like when you try to look at like the failures of the past and trying to correlate, because I think there was a comment before about Lampard, Scholes, and Gerrard, right? And there was a similarly horrible coach who never played them to their potential, right? Exactly. And so the only difference that I see here right now, though, is these players actually interact and they love each other. So I think this idea of club competition isn't as prevalent as what it was back when we saw the Gerrard Lampard schools.
I agree.
And so I think that camaraderie is a really important point, that even if you have a coach that's not going to play you to your potential, the players on the pitch and their connections is going to be what can save you the job. So that's going to be it for me. But again, it's not like it's the other way where France are crap. Like, this is a huge game. It's a historical game. France, in your home country, you can't let everybody down, can you?
I see this being
narrator. They can.
We talk about the cycle, right? And I think this cycle will continue. I think from the semi-final in 2018, I think we do reach the final this year, but I do think we lose it. And then I think we go to the World Cup next year, and we really do have a really, really good go at it, maybe even winning it. But I just don't see this. I just don't see us winning the tournament.
Didn't we see Spain win it in 2008, and then they won the 20?
That's what I mean. Same with Germany.
Spain won 3 in a row.
I just don't think we have the. I just don't think we. I want to see how we do in that final. I don't know what the South African final looks like.
Playability wise, I think we have probably one of the best squads in that tournament. Again, it's down to the mentality, but look, those players have been in the Champions League finals, they've won trophies. These players have been conditioned to win stuff, so we can't go through with another excuse that these players have poor mentalities. That they've proven it to us that they have good mentalities. Again, it's just probably it's like when we say with Tottenham, we always know Tottenham's going to fail in the end, and that's probably another thing that's attached with England. They always tend to disappoint. That's probably my biggest issue with England. That's probably my biggest issue with England. But
there's less Tottenham players.
But again, when I look at England, I feel like they should be the favourites of the tournament because they have probably the best attacking midfield group in the tournament, and again, the most potent striker in the world at this moment of time. So they should. They should win it, man. I'm just going to set myself disappointment again, aren't I?
I don't even have them making the final, to be honest. I think they would have been knocked out before them.
Really?
Somewhere along the line, they mess it up somehow, man.
I mean, with England, they have like I'm going to put this back up because if they come second in this group, right, they face Sweden and then they face France. Then after that. So they have to win this group. Like there's no.
Either way, they're going to play France or Portugal. Either way,
that's
crazy. They're going to have to beat someone big. But so
are we not considering the fact that even France might be knocked out along the way?
They may not. Maybe France doesn't win their group personally. You never
Yeah,
know.
but if they come second, they'll probably play England.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Look, you know what?
I
you know what?
will say this though. I think France. I would rather face France early than late.
Oh,
If we're
of course.
talking. I
Yeah,
would
because they
rather
always
much.
they seem to start slow.
Yeah,
They
and then they
always
get
take time
better.
to gel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'll say though, if England don't manage to do it in this tournament, I actually don't see them doing quite well in the future. And what I
Next year.
mean, yeah, and what I mean by that is this is their best chance in a while to win the tournament, break the duck, and not let past kind of mares really kind of impact them in the future. Everyone's going to look at this tournament and say it was England's to lose. I actually don't think that's an unfair statement to say, right? And I think that will actually carry in the future because France have an immense young talent pool, just like England. So if they can continue the cycle, I think that sets precedent. But if England win, I really think you can stop it and you can set kind of the platform for really future success. So yeah, I think we see the end of a cycle. It's due, by the way. France have been so dominant for a while. I don't think we've seen a cycle that they've done repeats like this. So
the other thing is that France youth group is going to come through, and it's pretty monstrous itself.
that's what I
Yeah,
mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So if they win this tournament, I can see them going on a serious dynasty, like a serious dynasty. But if they don't, and England does win it, because we have a similar talent pool. Let's not kid ourselves. I say we. I'm not even English. Like England and France, they have similar talent pools. If you're really looking at it, so it's going to be those two for I think years to come, World Cup and even Euros. But let's see. I really just see a lot of things, a lot of tropes happening. I want to pose this question, and I don't know the answer. Has there been a time in history where you've seen a cycle go longer than 8 years?
Brazil. I would say Brazil from like
Brazil,
94
right?
to 2002, 2004. And if you even want to consider 94, like maybe that's a totally different era, but like Brazil were on a run of like 3 World Cup finals in a row, plenty of Copa America success, plenty of amazing players that kind of lasted throughout that era.
Mhm.
But other than that, yeah, them and maybe Spain. Like,
and that's what I mean. So is there precedent in the modern game for longer than an 8-year dynasty? I don't know. Don't know. So I just have a feeling you have to look at that and the England squad, but like I could be wrong. Maybe this is the time I got egg on my face, but it's England's to lose.
I just think people I just think people are really underestimating how bad Gareth Southgate is. Like, he is just really bad at his job.
It's just that whoever he puts on that front line, on the day they can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
whoever
whatever.
he puts in that front line on the day can do something crazy and just win the game.
He's gonna pick the worst wingers he has.
yeah, I think that's the problem too. I think it's his selection, his starting 11 that will really make or break this. Because like to be honest, like I've been very critical of Deschamps. I've been very critical of Santos at Portugal. Like I'm not a fan really of the way they play football. I look at France's 11, I look at Portugal's 11, and then I watch them play. I'm starting to think to myself, like, these are some of the best players in the world. Why are you playing such a pragmatic, slow style of play? But then you also think about it, international football, these managers have such little time with their players. It's more about getting a system in play that gets all of them producing at an individual best. And that's when you see like the best teams succeed. With Southgate, I kind of hear what George is saying, right? He just has to not mess up the 11 and then let these guys express themselves. Let the Fodens and the Grealishes and the Kanes do what they do best. Will he get the 11 right, though? I can't say he will.
You know what's mad? How crazy are these teams, but how horrible are the coaches?
So like, bad. Martinez is the coach of Belgium. This guy got relegated with Wigan.
And I think Henri's going back too, eh?
Yeah,
he is.
So I think the only thing that's left, Kerr, and I don't know if before we do it, is player of the tournament and top scorer, right?
Yeah.
And
dark horse.
Golden Glove. Isn't that golden?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that's a good
young player of the. No, let's do as well. Rising, like every tournament has a player that kind of like comes out of the tournament on top. Like who is it going to be? That guy who gets a big move this summer.
Okay.
What do you want to do first,
tournament?
Yeah,
let's just do player of the tournament. Let's do player of the tournament.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for me, it depends. So For me, it depends on England's last game.
Don't start switching now, Chris. Go on.
Wait, let me say that.
Don't tell me
Depends
Saka.
on who England plays on the last game of that, on the first game of the round of 16. Yeah, whoever's their best player, I think it'll be Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish should win it. I'll say Jack. I would have said Saka, but Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish.
You know what? I'll follow it up because I was worried that you were going to switch. I do think Grealish is going to be a player of the tournament, but oddly, like not top scorer. I don't know, but oddly, I think he's not really known for terrible output. But look, I think Grealish is going to be player of the tournament. He's going to extend his. I think he's going to announce himself. I really think with Grealish, what it is he's taken these like small steps through Villa and even in the Premier League where he got injured. I think his impact has actually not been stated enough. If you look at Villa and what he did to get them competing into European places, and then when he got injured, the fall off, it's immense. I mean, Grealish, I think, is going to announce himself to the world. It's going to be kind of like letting everybody know he's a world-class player in a sense, because I think everybody knows he's a great player, but and he's able to do it in a poor team. But can he make a statement and actually translate that to the biggest stages? That's a question mark that I think, is yet to be determined. So
here's another thing too. Grealish, England does not do anything without him. Like if they go far in this tournament, it has to be because someone wasn't performing. Rashford or Sterling forced Southgate to like bring because everyone knows Grealish should be in this 11. In England's best 11, Grealish is there, no matter what position you want to put him in. And he may not start out in the starting 11, but if England does anything, it'll be because he forced his way in there and he drove this team forward. So yeah, if England goes far, he's the player of the tournament. I 100% agree with that.
I don't think an English person is going to win player of the tournament. I just something about this England team annoys me. I just think that he's not going to be playing the right players, and he's just like if it is an English player, I agree. It probably will be Grealish, or it could even be Mount because Mount has been very good. He's been very good at leading into this tournament. But if I'm thinking with my head, I can't go past Kylian Mbappe. It has like the guy is he's a lethal scorer. He's extremely good on the ball. Is the runs he makes, he turns up in international tournaments, and I have him as my top scorer as well. So we'll see what happens. But something this English team bothers me. Something about it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like he's gonna mess it up. Like,
for me on Mbappe, like I was very tempted to pick him as well. But for me, the reason I'm not picking him as top goal scorer or best player is because I think with this France team, it's kind of shared. Like the attacking output up front, you're going to see Benzema score 3. You're going to see Griezmann finish the tournament with 3. You're going to see Mbappe finish 3 or 4. So I don't think there'll be one player that really shines. With France, it usually ends up being as a totality. They are a great team.
Yeah.
They just know how to win games.
He's not the focal point that he is in PSG, is he?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And the attack doesn't run through him as much.
Especially more so with Benzema now back in the team. Like he is not going to be
the
that
only
good.
reason why I'm going to rescind my top scorer take is because of the group they're in. I've just realised, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of high scoring games in that group. So maybe not the top scorer.
Wait, Kern, let's ask Z because I think he's the only one that hasn't got player of the tournament. Because I have that exact point. I don't want you to steal it from me. About top scorer. So Z, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it has to be Jack Grealish for me. I think it's probably going to be the tournament where he, I think, announces himself to the world rather than just the domestic league of the Premier League. So yeah, 100%. I think it will be Jack Grealish.
Okay, and I'm going to follow that up really quick before you make your point because let's put it this way: on top scorers, I picked Kane, and the reason is solely because of the path. So if we're looking at the two teams, France and England, who I think are very clearly going to go to the final, the roads the roads to the final are much harder for France than they are for England. And
England, though, if we look at this, Portugal, Spain, Poland, or Switzerland, that's not an easy.
I think it's easier than up top. So if you scroll up top, France have to face Croatia, Italy, and I think those aren't going to be high-scoring games.
No.
Whereas if you were to go below and you see with like England, Poland, or England, Switzerland, Spain and England, and England and Switzerland, those are going to be high-scoring games, in my opinion. So I think it's more to do with the fact of the draw as opposed to maybe the best player, and that's why I think Kane will get a lot of goals.
The other thing I'm going to say quickly is this game here determines who gets out of this half of the table.
That's the flop game that I think, Lyes, you made a point. Who flops? It could be England.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, but I want to say, if Portugal wins this, I mean, I don't think they do, but if they do win this, can we all agree France wins this game? France, Portugal.
I don't think Portugal gets past Spain. I'm telling you, Portugal will lose to one of these teams, man. I
don't trust their defense. I just don't trust their defense.
They have choke written about them, I think.
For me, and I mean, if we do like flop of the tournament, we'll talk about that a little more. But I actually think he comes from Portugal. But I'm telling you, Portugal are going to. They're not the team everyone thinks they are. They have great players, but man, they are.
Yeah. So who's your top scorer then, Lyes?
Lukaku. I think no one is a better big game, small game bully, stat sheet stuffer than Romelu Lukaku, and we saw that in the last World Cup. You saw in that group stage, he was scoring goals for fun against the likes of Panama and Tunisia. This is what he does. And I just off the top of my head, I can't remember the teams he's playing spot on, but from what I remember, it's a group where we all expect
an easy group.
Yeah, we expect Belgium to go through.
Yeah, it's
and I think
Russia,
great individual season. Yeah, come on, he's going crazy in that group, and I think he is now kind of emerged as Belgium's leader after this great individual season. I'd say Lukaku is the top scorer of this tournament.
Yeah, and Archie, don't worry, lad. The lives are going to be dominated by the Euros while they are at, so you can remind me about my shows.
But yeah, for top scorer, if it's not going to be Mbappe, which I now concede it's not, I probably would go with Kane myself because the system revolves around his goals in the team, and they will have a pretty easy go of it if they do get past Portugal. So, and the group isn't that hard either, so it does set up for a Kane top scorer.
I could see Kane scoring a hat trick against Scotland easy, 100%.
Yeah. That just kind of seemed kind of.
Speaking of flat track bullies, Kane.
Yeah, you're right. You are right.
So apparently, Buendia to Villa is a done deal.
Wow.
From who?
Chris Davidson. Okay, let me say mine.
Chris. Anyways, go on. Let's not go. That's another video.
I said Turkey's my dark horse. Burak Yilmaz will be the top scorer.
Wow.
Wait. You're saying not only dark horse but top scorer. Mate, you know that they have to progress to do that.
Oh my god.
I said they're gonna take around the 16 and he's just gonna score stupid numbers up until then. Watch.
Yeah, okay, hold on 1 second. I'm just reminding you, so when you go back to edit, clip your take. I'm doing this so that you go back and everyone can clip
we're going to make the thumbnail as we speak. Okay, this is
Burak Yilmaz. Yes,
I know. I heard you.
If you get to around the 16, Burak Yilmaz will be top scorer.
Burak Yilmaz.
Okay, Z, can you help us out here?
He scores goals for fun now. Seriously,
Harry Kane.
What an easy pick.
Wow. There we go. Okay, so I think the only last one.
Can I change, man?
No, you're said it with chest.
I'll change it to Lewandowski.
No, you said it with chest. I'm not having that.
No,
that's no fun.
No, man. Allow
I'm not having that. You said it with chest too. You were like my dark horse and then my top scorer. No, I'm not having that.
That's a clip, and you're clipping that and you're posting it.
So Curran, I think the only last thing that I would probably say is why don't we pick like a superstar? Because I think Lyes, you're right. Every big tournament, there's probably a rising star or somebody that
You look at James, you look at Golovin, like there's one player.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily the player of the tournament, right? Like I think James did, in fact, like when you look back, but they don't have to be the best player of the tournament. I think Rising Star is probably a really good one. So I'm gonna save mine because I think I have a little bit of a odd pick, but
I gotta think about mine, so don't go to me first.
Okay, Curran, do you got something or Z?
I'm looking through it now and I'm thinking
am I allowed to say Xhaka?
Yeah, say Xhaka if you want. I mean,
I think Xhaka will have a crazy tournament.
There's a couple of players I would put. I think Locatelli is a very good shout. I think he might have a very good tournament.
I just worry if he'll start, to be honest with you, because you have Jorginho, Verratti, Barella, like you have options there.
I don't think Jorginho starts. Not over Locatelli.
Maybe.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, Locatelli, or I would also say maybe Frankie de Jong as well. Or maybe
Frankie de Jong is a rising star.
In this tournament, he can go from being an average Barcelona player to be back to where people thought he was after his Ajax run, where he's world class again. So, I mean, this is a good shout as well. James in the comments said Berardi. Berardi is a very good player as well. But I would say maybe Locatelli. I'm going to stick with Locatelli. I really think, or Pellegrini. Maybe Pellegrini. Okay. Pellegrini, yeah. What do you think? Who else? Who's not said it yet?
Yeah, Man Xhaka.
Granit Xhaka.
Yeah.
Rising star.
He's integral to the flipping Switzerland team, and if they do go to the quarterfinals the way we think they are, he will have to play a big part in it. So
I got two, and this is kind of like going off the top of my head. I didn't do much research for this, but just off who I think has the potential to really make a name for themselves even more than they already have, I'm looking at Federico Chiesa on Italy, and then I'm looking at Isak on Sweden. I think those two have the potential to have really massive tournaments individually, bring their teams far. Really, and Isak I think is interesting because everyone's looking at Erling Haaland at Dortmund and where's he going to go. Dortmund have a ready-made replacement, or potentially even somebody that they could play right alongside Haaland in Isak if they decide to recall him from Real Sociedad. If they decide to activate, I think it's a buyback clause that they do have for a relatively cheap price. So I think those two have the potential to really light this tournament up individually.
Good news. Yeah, I think so. For me, I think my young player has got to be Bukayo Saka, and I think the weird shout is I really think he's going to play himself into the team. And what it is with me is, again, I doubt Southgate's ability to really make all these profiles work, but Bukayo Saka, and I'd hate it from like an Arsenal perspective. I really would hate it. Like, he needs rest. I really hope he goes to the tournament and doesn't play a single minute. But this lad has an ability. He's a bubbling superstar, really. And I think Foden, and there's others in the English team that you could pick, but they've had their moment. They've had their Champions League. Right now, everybody disrespects this kid so often. And I think he's the type of player to beat expectations, and he's always kind of made himself a big part of the team. So I actually am going to pick Bukayo Saka, and he'll announce himself to the world as, just a world-class player.
You disagreed when I said I think he could start in the semis.
I don't think he's going to play at all, to be honest with you.
I hope he doesn't. I hope I have egg on my face with this one. I really do, because
Southgate's been talking about him so much recently that he has to play him. He will play him.
But just why do you play him? I don't see it.
Right wing all day long.
Look, you're playing Grealish on the left, Saka on the right?
Yep.
I mean, I don't hate the idea. I think it could work. I just don't think – I think there's too many –
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think there's too many players that are in front of him in Southgate's eyes.
But I do want to mention the one that you mentioned, Isaac. Phenomenal shout. This is a player that I really, really like, and I rate really quite highly in terms of, that complete 9 profile. He's a really great player and, one to watch for sure. I think in terms of the midfield, I just want to go to Italy, my dark horse. I've said Saka, so you can clip that part. But just in terms of like young player, I think Locatelli is really going to announce himself to the world because he's had an immense season for Sao Paulo. And he's been linked with all the top teams. And this kid, if you look at him, right, he's top in almost every single metric that you want to look at. So for progressive carries and even, passes, he's immense. Deep progressions, he's one of the top. Locatelli is a player that I'd love as an Arsenal fan, seeing that you've got Xhaka heading out. I would love his type in there. But he's a guy that I think is going to announce himself to the world because Italy are going to surprise people in my mind. They're my dark horse, and I think that's going to be because Locatelli is really pulling the strings. But yeah,
I think him or Barella, I think are really good shouts.
Like, Barella,
I don't think I would have said him, but he's so good that. If I
is he really? He's really just one midfielder of the season.
That's why I was saying Locatelli, because I just think that he's extremely good as a ball progressor as well. He's not as known, and he's such a good ball progressor as well. That
I said Jacob because I think the wide perception of him will change based on this tournament.
As a rising star, though,
he's seen as a scrub.
He's established, though. He's a player. Go for somebody younger. That's your out there pick, like a rising star.
You already did Yilmaz too, bro. You don't got to be dramatic of all.
Yeah, you got Yilmaz. You've already got that stuff.
Exactly.
You talk, and I'll say you talk.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, just to wrap it up, I think in terms of the overall opinions on the Euros, I think this is actually going to be a really great Euros. I think the last couple tournaments have been actually really poor. If I'm really being honest with you, I think
that
the play.
2016 one, I love that 2016 one.
I don't know.
The Iceland run was great. Wales were fun.
That's the problem. They were all fun upsets, but I never felt that.
I really liked that. I thought that was kind of fun.
No, I'm not a fan. I felt like a lot of the big teams choked, and so I really think that you're going to see a return to a lot of the older teams. So I really hope Italy has a strong tournament in this sense. Your England, your France's, and I think we're going to see a return a little bit more to kind of those powerhouses. I think before there was a lot of opportunity for teams that were in your B or C list to actually go far. And I hope, well, not hope, but I think this is how the Euros are going to go, where the Titans are going to return, and we're going to start to see domination of those world footballs again. But let's see. Look, England, I've gone really strong in this whole video, right? So I could really struggle here if they don't do well. But I maintain I'm not going to go back. I think they're going to be player of the tournament, rising star. I've really gone all aboard in terms of my awards, right? I think England are the team to beat in the tournament to lose. But Lyes, what about you?
I've got mine.
Oh, there we go.
Go ahead.
So I was thinking Saka, but you said him, and I thought he's going to play in the final, but you disagreed somehow. I think it's going to be either Jude Bellingham or Jota.
Jota's a shout,
Jota's a shout for sure, and even top scorer actually. Now thinking about it,
maybe
Jota
could score.
The only other, if we're doing Portugal, I really do think someone like Joao Felix could make himself on that. On that next level. On that.
He doesn't strike me as a guy that's a killer. Jota does. I don't know if
that's why I think this tournament will show. If he shows up, he can show that killer instinct that
he needs to leave Simeone's
prison. He's got so much talent.
But he's leaving Simeone's prison to go to Santos's prison, bro. It's one prison to the next, and that's really
it's true,
you ask me what's my finishing thoughts on this?
When am I getting out?
This is going to be a tournament for me where I think you see a lot of big players flop. And I think you're going to see that because these guys are all coming off the longest seasons of their career. They're all exhausted. They've all played nonstop football, most of them who are playing at these top clubs. And for me, the reason I think Portugal are going to be the biggest flop of this tournament is that I don't think there's enough cohesion. And I don't think there's enough defined roles for their big players. And I look at Bruno Fernandes, for me, is going to be the flop of the tournament. And this is coming from a Manchester United fan. He doesn't have the same role in this Portugal team as he does at United. Where in Portugal, he's honestly playing as more of an 8.
Really? I'm not being mean. I just don't. I think there's so many different players you play in. I don't know where you fit him in this team.
The thing is, I agree 100%. They don't play with a real number 10. And in fact, in international football, a lot of teams don't play with a real number 10. Mm-hmm. And with United, he is so clearly the focal point of that team where every chance goes through him, every attack goes through him. It's not the same with this Portugal team. You have a lot of big players. Another guy who I think personally is going to flop, Cristiano Ronaldo. I think, again, he's not a real Cristiano Ronaldo will flop. He's not going to be one of the best players at this tournament. Yeah. He's not a real number 9, and the way Portugal are playing him is as a focal point. He's never been that kind of player. He's been a player who kind of plays off of Benzema or a Rooney or an Alvaro Morata. He's not a focal point in that role.
I like people like me and CK have had this conversation, and he's very strong on the fact that he thinks that Ronaldo's going to flop. Well, I really think this is Ronaldo's swan song. If he really wants, if he wants it.
Yeah, but it's not a question about wanting it anymore.
Let me
Go ahead.
If they, for example, if they play Joao Felix in that central role and have him playing off him, I really, really think they do have a way to. There's a way.
Joao Felix is more of a player who plays off that guy himself. Joao Felix is a really important man in himself.
Sometimes if you watch Atletico, sometimes he has played a bit more centrally than just off the wing. He can play centrally as well when Suarez hasn't been available. So if you want to play Ronaldo off, But I still think Ronaldo is a very good. He's still elite. He's not like he's still the top scorer in Serie A, and that's not no mean feat.
And he's missed the most chances in the whole of Europe.
For me,
that's fine.
For me, it's a question of like. I just don't see him as a focal point. Like, again, for Juventus, like I think it's a little different. I think everything really goes through him there. And again, like he has players that play off of him, Dybala, Morata, Chiesa. I'm looking at this Portugal team, and for me, I just don't see how it works. I just don't see how they create chances. I think actually defensively, they're quite rigid. You have like that double pivot of Carvalho and Danilo Pereira.
They're unlucky. Neto's injured. They're unlucky. Neto got injured.
So Neto's the profile for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? So the thing is, look, Ronaldo has actually kind of failed away the entire season. If you really look at like his all-around play, it hurts me because I hate when these tight ends stick around too long, and I think he did an extra year. I really would have called it a quits really this season before. But when you look at Portugal and what they need to go away from the Ronaldo image, if that makes sense. So right now, I actually think the reason that they'll flop is because they're keeping him, and they're trying to accommodate a player like him. Yeah. When they've got the young players, just let them breathe, right? Neto is amazing. I love Neto, and actually, I think Neto is going to make the Saka transition. I really think his long-term future is on the right wing, not the left wing.
Yep.
And if you start looking at that attack now, right? Jota, João Felix, Neto as a front line. Like, look at that. That is a serious front line.
And I think you look at Bernardo, you have Bruno, like
Pedro Gonçalves, they've got a lot of
mate, like
you've got Bernardo Silva as well, no one mentioned.
Exactly.
But this is the reason, right? So I'm thinking because they've got Ronaldo, they're playing towards him. The reason they'll flop is because of that. And Santos is an idiot. But like I think that's the reason why we're gonna see Portugal flop.
We'll see. I just think that people, it's not Bruno that for me is the reason why they'll flop. I think if they do flop, it's a case of, I think this whole Euros, my final point was, this whole Euro situation is who is going to be managed the least bad. All the managers in this tournament are not top managers. There's no great man. There's no Pep or there's no Mourinho in this.
No doubt.
The best is probably Mancini.
This is the case of who will manage their team the least bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But to that point, I think Santos is a defensive-minded manager. Like you've seen his success comes from Greece, from that Portugal team. He thrives being the underdog. You now have a team with some of the best attacking players in the world. Can he manage this team into being the protagonist in games, into being the team that
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I can tell you as a Greek. And yeah, it was horrible. Our run was the most ridiculous thing. I was actually, oddly, fun fact, I was actually in Greece when we won it. It was the craziest thing. Yeah, mate. Like the tactics though were horrendous, and like you make a great point, Lyes. Like it's on. I don't think he is a protagonist. You can't. And a leopard doesn't change his spots, and combine that with a Ronaldo piece, it makes sense that they're going to flop as the flop of the tournament. But make no mistake, I think Portugal is going to be a force in like 4 years. So.
Yeah.
But maybe let's turn to wrap it up. I think we've all got it on our closing thoughts. Look, Lyes, mate, like I loved having you on. It's such an awesome, insight, really great, energy to bounce off. So maybe you can also let everyone know about your socials and where they can find you.
No doubt. You can find me on a whole lot of Lyes on Twitter and then whole lot of Mid on YouTube. And I just want to basically reflect those thoughts, man. It's been a pleasure to be on this show. Thank you guys for having me. You guys definitely know so much about football, and good luck to all of you guys for the summer and for this podcast. But hopefully not too much for Arsenal. So that's all.
His Twitter's in the description.
My guy.
What we're going to say is thank you everyone for coming on. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to go look at this Buendia stuff. And maybe if it is that serious, I might come out on a live and try and see we'll have a bit of a discussion, see what's going on with this, because this is the people have been speaking about it the entire stream. So let's see what's going to go on, and we'll see. Maybe we'll pop on in a bit. So
guys, remember before you head out to like, comment, subscribe. You can find us at Ball Over Passion here on YouTube, but also on Twitter. And thanks again, Lyes, mate. Like it's been awesome. But we'll wrap it up for the stream. All right.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads.
Good one.
Bye, guys.